All right, so some of you already have the logo are picked out. I'll pick one out in a second, but let's go over the stuff in AutoCAD. So when you first open AutoCAD, you'll probably be at the Start tab. Yours might look a little different, perhaps like that. So to start, we can click on Open or New. Most of you are probably doing New. So if you click on that, it opens up like this. All right, now I already have a bunch of things open, but you'll see it makes a new tab at the top here. And this one's called Drawing 2. Yours probably is Drawing 1. So I have two open somehow. But you can switch between the tabs. So that's really the first thing that you guys will see. All right. If you have a grid pattern on your screen, I really don't like this. It makes it hard to see. So I always turn that off. Maybe it's up to you. It's personal preference. But I click on this button at the very bottom. You'll notice there's a bunch of basically toggle switches or toggle buttons at the bottom. Some are blue, some are gray. The very first one, though, it's blue because it's on, and that's our grid mode. If I hold my mouse on it for a second, it tells you grid mode. So anything in this program, if you put your mouse on it long enough, it should give you information. I'm going to turn that off. I don't like that one. And just for future reference, this snap mode will mess you up in so many different ways unless you know exactly how to use it. I don't like it. I never use it. So these are always gray. I never have the first two on. We'll talk about some of these other ones later. We have the polar tracking we'll use, and we will use the snaps a lot, but we'll get into that. First thing first, yeah. We got our workspace. You know about these tabs. You got tabs down here at the bottom too. Model space is generally where you work. Or layout pages are generally where you put your title block, and you can put these things called windows or viewports, which are like windows. Let me just draw a rectangle real quick. And you can usually zoom in and out in your drawing. And you could do different scales. There's my... So now I got a rectangle. So it's like a little window. Mine's black and white right now, but we can always switch that. All right, so you got model space and layout. We're doing most of our stuff in model, like I said. All right, so let's talk about the actual tools. You'll notice at the top, this is called a ribbon. I don't know if you're familiar. Some other programs call it ribbons too. And on the top of the ribbon, you got different tabs. For the most part, we're going to use just the home tab 99.9% of the time. And within the ribbon here, we have little sections. We have the draw section. You have the modify section, annotation, which is notes and dimensions, and then layers, and then some other ones that we might use like properties. If yours looks different, it's just because you have a better resolution. You could fit more of these things. So you may also see this properties like up there next to layers. Because I'm filming it kind of blown up so you can see it easier, I have to do the pull down. Not a big deal, but you can see that's how you change colors of your lines and your thickness and whatnot. All right, so let's draw. I want to start with basically one of the draw tools, right? For the most part, I use line and maybe circle. And arc is going to be really useful too. So let's start with the line. I'm going to put my mouse on it, and it tells me that it creates straight line segments. Imagine that. It says, with line, you can create a series of contiguous line segments. Each segment is a line object that can be edited separately. So you can see the little symbols there. The X's where it says 1, 2, 3, that means if you click 3 times, you get basically 2 lines. So let's try that. I want to click on line, and I want to specify first point. Notice it says it right near my cursor. Yours may not. Yours might just say it at the bottom. So that brings me to that. This is at the bottom is called our command prompt. There's always going to be some kind of prompt there or command. Whenever you're not sure if you're in a command or whatever, that's where you look. All right, so I'm going to specify my first point. Just click once. And it basically attaches to my cursor. And I'm going to click again. It's my next point. And there's still something attached. Matter of fact, if I keep going forever, it'll just keep drawing lines. To get out of this, you're going to either click escape, or you could just click on your space button, space bar. Basically, space bar is the same thing as enter. Matter of fact, you could click the enter button. But the reason I always use space bar is because you're going to use your middle finger and your thumb for escape and the space a lot. So check this out. So if I want to go back into line, I can just hit the space bar with my thumb. It takes me right into the last thing I did. So if I want to draw a line here, then I can do escape, space bar, line, escape, and you can see how this can be really quick after you do it for a while. Matter of fact, the computer is having a hard time keeping up. So that's good. A space bar and escape. You'll get used to it. Just know for now. Whenever you're stuck in something, you're not sure, just tap escape as many times as you want, and you'll see it hit cancel until you just see it all cancels. You'll be out of a command. All right, let me delete these lines and start over. How do I do that? Well, I just zoomed, so let me talk about that. I'm zooming out using the mouse wheel. Kind of like the other programs, you roll the mouse wheel. Wherever you put your mouse, it'll where it will go. So if I want to go to this little loop, I just keep my mouse in the loop. If I want to go into the center of this, I put my mouse there, and then I can zoom right to it. So that takes a little bit of time to get used to, but it's pretty easy. If you hold your little mouse wheel, you're just going to pan, which just grabs it. You can see it gives it a hand. And I'm going to delete these. So I'm going to show you guys how to select. There's several ways to select. You can click on the line. So I just clicked on it. If you keep on clicking, it's just going to keep adding more. You don't have to hold shift or anything. Matter of fact, if you did hold shift, that would unselect one. Little trick. Okay, so that's clicking directly on the line. Now, if I wanted to unselect, I'm going to hit escape. Just takes me out of everything. It's wonderful. All right, so now I want to select all these at one time. I'm going to do a drag select. And there's going to be 2 different types of drag select. Check this out. You guys may have tried this, but you got a blue one, and then you got a green one, depending on which direction you go in. The green one you can see has like dotted lines, and the blue one solid. There is a difference. Oh, I just clapped. That'll be on the recording. The difference is if I don't have something completely in the box, it won't go in it if I'm in blue, right? So notice I'm touching all the lines, but not all of them are completely in the box. So when I click, the ones that were not completely in aren't going to select. That'll be really useful when you have really messy, not messy, but when you have a lot of things going on in your drawing. If I go the other way, and I'm going to try to do the same thing, it's not, the ones to the right are not completely in the box, but they are touching. Boom. So it gets everything in the box and everything it touches. So generally, I usually go right to left when I select, but it'll work either way. You just got to have it all the way in. All right, and then I can hit delete. Delete button on your keyboard. That's the easiest way to do it. All right, so let's try this again. I'm going to make a rectangle with the line tool. This time, guys, I'm going to use my shortcut because ultimately, I don't want to give too much to you right now, but shortcuts are really easy in AutoCAD for the most part. It's usually the first letter of the tool. Sometimes it's like the first two letters if it's like two things that are similar. So if you can guess what the shortcut is for a line, you guys might be ahead of the game. Well, I'm going to start typing the word in. Oh, and you can see right after L, it gives me a list of things that are L. It just so happens that the one on top is line. So the shortcut for line is just L. You don't have to wait for this menu. You don't have to click on this menu. You just got to do L space, and then you're instantly in the line command because it tells you at the bottom where it says, that's your command prompt. It says specify first point. So now I'm going to make my rectangle. I clicked. I actually want to type in a number now, and I can see what I'm close to because as I move my tool, it says like 8, 6, but they're decimal points. So I want this to be perfect. So let's say I want this to be 5. So I'm just going to type 5, and when I hit space, that should be a line that is 5. If we want to check it, we can check our user dimension tools. Obviously, this one is like a easy to dimension tool. I usually use this linear one. That's my favorite because it keeps it like vertical or horizontal. But this will work, this big tool. So you can either click directly on the line, and then after you click on it, it like attaches to your cursor and you can push it out a little ways. So now I can see that my line was exactly 5. So that worked out. So if I want to make the next one, let's say 12, I can just L for line, and I should have a cool snap. Now, mine is actually a different symbol because I have my dimension there. I'm going to delete that real quick. Okay, so you guys should see a square. All right, if you hold your mouse there long enough, it actually will tell you what kind of snap you're snapping to. And it says endpoint on mine. You might not be able to see it on the board, but when you look at the video, you would definitely see it. All right, so I got a square endpoint snap. I can type in whatever number I want, and then space. And if I want to finish this rectangle, I can either type 5 again, and then I could type 12 again, but there's an easier way. We're going to use what's called O track, which is down here at the bottom. Yeah. So if I hold my mouse on this button again, on this endpoint, once it says endpoint, it's like 3 seconds. You can start to follow it. Notice it kind of snaps into a location. It's also trying to snap on 45s for me, but I want this to go vertical. Boom. All right, so I got that, and then it's just a matter of closing it. And then I can hit escape, and I have a perfect rectangle that is 5 by 12. All right, so that's really just lines so far. Circles, you click on circle, and there is a pull down for different type ways to do it. I usually just use the generic way, which is center and then radius. So when I start it, I'm gonna hit escape and get out of that. Let's try again. Circle, or I can type C. Okay. And then space. Now it says specify center point of circle. What if I wanted my center point to be directly in the center of these two things. So I'm going to hold for 3 seconds. Oh, it might not work for me. No. Oh well, I'm just going to draw a circle. Specify center point. Draw it here. And if I want to type a number, I could. Or you could just eyeball it. In this case, we're gonna eventually do stickers, and you're not gonna have to worry about numbers. But I just want to show you this. I'll type 2, and that is 2 for the radius. It says. Now you may notice if I wanted diameter, I could actually just click on diameter at the bottom, or I could type D. It's a blue little D there. So if I type D, now when I type 2, it's half that amount. Circle, radius of 2. So that's really the basics of circles. They're pretty simple. What else? What else? Okay, we want to modify things. Actually, I want to bring those circles back. I deleted those circles, but I'm going to use them real quick. So, easiest way to do that is with a shortcut. The shortcut is the universal undo for most PCs and for some Macs. It's Control Z. Of course, it would be a command in a Mac, but Control Z is undo. It's like my best friend in this software because I make a lot of mistakes. I'm going to draw another line. So this line is going to be a diagonal. So I just did endpoint to endpoint. Now I want these circles to be right at that center point. Now if I click on the line, you can see I can click on those blue things if I wanted to. So you can edit them things that way. I want to put these circles. I'm just selecting them both. And I'm going to do move. That's our first modify tool so far. I could either type move, and I'll show you that, or you could literally just grab the center point like I was showing you and try to snap it onto your line. I have a bunch of different snaps going, right? I got too many, but it works for me. You guys may only have a few snaps, so you probably only have like, I'm just trying to make it like what you guys have. Okay, close enough. So now you should be able to see the midpoint a lot easier, which is a triangle. There it is. And it tells me midpoint, boom. So now I know that this is exactly in the center of that rectangle. And I could even delete this line if I wanted to. All right, so that's basically how you move. That's one way to move it, just using the grip points. Other ways to actually use the move command. Shortcut for move, you guessed it, it's M. So I'm going to escape out of here, select M, space. And you guys get used to that. It's going to be like second nature. Yeah, so I guess I undid all my selection things that I did there. There it is. All right, so move. There's other things we'll use like rotate. Let's give it a shot. The shortcut for rotate, you could probably guess it. Let me see, I'm just going to type R for rotate. Oh, it's not just the first letter for rotate. That's okay. I can see farther down here is rotate. Just happens to be RO. Now I could just click on it here. That works. All right, so I'm in rotate. It tells me to select my objects. As long as you follow these directions, you don't have to just memorize how to do it. It kind of has directions at the bottom. So I've selected where I want it to rotate, and then I can, hopefully it'll snap into the right angle, and boom, it's rotated. I want to show you guys, well, copy is just like move, but it does, instead of just moving it, it copies it. Shortcut for copy is actually CO. So if I type C, first thing is circle, which we already learned that was C. So next thing is CO. What else? What else? Yes, I want to show you guys offset. Offset is going to be huge. It's going to be very important when we do floor plans, because a lot of our measurements are going to be offset measurements. Offset is over here in the corner. Oh, my mouse is jumping around. Hold on. It's up in the corner of modify. It looks like two like U's. But it says it creates concentric circles, parallel lines, and parallel curves. You can specify you can offset an object at a specified distance. So let me show you that. Shortcut for offset. Yep, it's O. It's the first one on the list. I'm gonna hit space. Now it says specify offset distance. So what it means is, how far do you want your line to be? So if I did that circle, if I wanted that circle to be offset, how far away? I could either type a number here, or I could actually just draw the line at the distance I want it to be. So if I drew a line from here to, let's say here, and I click, now it says specify object to offset. So it recorded that. It actually will tell you, sometimes it tells you. So if I click on this now, there we go. Once you click on the line that you want to offset, it'll just ask you what side do you want it to go on. You only got two options. To the left, to the right. In this case, inside or outside. And I click and it makes it offset. And I can keep on doing that. Boom, just keep on clicking, keep on clicking. It'll just keep going until you hit escape. And once you escape, you're out of that command. I know it's a lot. This is really almost everything. I'm just making sure I didn't miss anything major. You guys could probably figure out how to do modify the mirror command. And the scale, if you follow the directions on it, it's not too bad. So you select objects, space, specify base point. That just means where's it going to start scaling. So I'm going to want it to start in the center. And then I can either eyeball it, or if I want it to be double, I'll say 2. All right, so now that says 24. And that should be 10. If I wanted to do half, let me do this again. I'm going to select it. This time I'm going to select it before I do scale. Doesn't really matter. All right, so if I want to do half with the scale, you type specify base point, and then instead of 2, that would double it. We're going to do 0.5. And 0.5, anything lower than 1 is going to make it smaller. In this case, half, 0.5. It's a lot. So I'm almost done. There's one more thing that I just want to show. Well, fillet. This will make... If I drew a bunch of crazy lines out in space here, this is going to be really good for cleaning up your lines. All right, now fillet, if you click on it, it says it rounds the edges. And it does, but I always use this with it set to 0, because it says here, to create a sharp corner instead of set it to 0. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to click on trim, fillet. The shortcut, by the way, is F. And it says specify first object. Okay, so let's say I want these two things to have a nice corner. So it will not only, if I click on 1 and then 2, not only will it make a corner, but it will also delete the rest of it, making it pretty easy to clean up things. like so. So that kind of cleaned up those triangles. All right, so, oops. Redo, by the way, is Control Y. Okay, this is the only other tool that you're going to use like all of the time. I saved the best for last, okay? And then I'm done, I promise. All right, this is going to be called Trim. Trim is also extend, basically. So, I could read all this, but this is going to confuse you. Let's just see how it works. All right. Shortcut for trim is TR. I don't know what T is. What's T? Text. That makes sense. I usually type MT. That's weird. All right, so TR. And it used to be a little bit more difficult. Now, as soon as you get into it, it will automatically start to trim things to the nearest line. So if I want these lines to be clean, I could click 1, click 2, and it just trims it to the nearest line. It's excellent. You could also hold and do what's called a fence. So I went through 2 lines, or you can do 100 if they're close. And when you let go, boom, it trims both of those to the nearest line. Boom. Pretty cool. You can have some fun with that sometimes. And ultimately, you could use that as like an erase tool if you wanted to as well. There's one more trick here. Other than that, is if you hold Shift when you are in trim, it then turns into extend. So if I had 2 little lines here, I could hold Shift while I'm in trim and extend those all the way to the edges. Fancy. You can see how that works. You can do trim, you can extend, you can trim, and it has to do with whether you're holding Shift or not. All right, and that is the beginning of this whole thing. It's just knowing how to use these tools. All right, this is all I'm doing today, guys. We will work on the stickers later, and I will post this video so you guys can get to it. All right, so mess around with this, try a couple of the tools out, and let me know if you need any help.